All right. So what are we doing today, Kenny?
Well, I thought it would be kind of fun because I know this is a common issue, especially in the realm that we coach in all the time, Paul, and that's that pre-contemplator.
Yeah, and I know we've all been there at one point or another where, our behaviors were maybe not ideal for us, but we weren't ready for that change yet. Maybe we knew deep down that we needed something different, but the idea of changing was just too overwhelming for whatever reason. So I know it's something a lot of coaches run into, and it's just one of those things that is fun to see how people coach someone through pre-contemplation. It can be a little bit, I think, maybe intimidating sometimes when somebody's not ready for change as a coach.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel like a little more work. If you got somebody that comes in and they're ready for that action stage, it's really not too much work. The other thing, Paul, that comes to my mind when I think about pre-contemplators is those clients, or maybe ourselves when we're in that change process, that have been told they need to make a change, right? I think that's probably the client I'm going to be today, somebody that was told to make a change.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm game for that. So
All right,
we'll see what happens here.
I'm ready.
All right. Hi, Kenny. How are you today?
Oh, I'm okay. A little bit, I don't know, a little bit frustrated, I guess.
Okay. Tell me, if you don't mind, tell me a little about that frustration. What's going on?
Well, I've got a new doctor and he is riding that whole plant-based diet train. That's all they can talk about. Of course, it's since he's doing it, he feels like, I mean, even when you go on his website, it says he's encouraging his patients to adopt a plant-based diet.
I see. And so you felt like in talking to him that he was pushing some of this on you, and it sounds like it's not something that is really resonating with you.
No, not really. I kind of lean more in the keto world, so I'm all about animal meat. I'm all about eating meat. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't have to be plant. Not that I don't like plants, but I don't know, felt a little disrespectful today, honestly.
Uh, well, that can make sense. I can see why, if you have a diet that works for you, you'd feel maybe disrespected that your doctor is pushing this on you. I'm curious, why do you think your doctor is asking you about this diet or telling you more about it?
Well, I'm sure he thinks it's the best way to eat, and I don't know. I I guess that's what I think. Maybe he thinks it's the best way for everybody to eat, so that's why he's kind of pushing it.
And you understand the diet it's maybe more nuanced than that. Maybe there's different types of diets that work for different people. So would you mind sharing with me what works for you? What have you noticed works for your nutritional needs?
So I really like fruits and vegetables. I mean, that's a good diet, right? But I think think there needs to be some protein in there. And I know because he talked about it today. We talked about protein, that he feels like that can be fulfilled by a plant-based diet. But I don't know. I know how I feel when I eat meat. I know how I feel, and that's good.
So you're feeling like you're feeling really good with the diet that you're on right now. It works for you. It works for your body. Um, and it sounds to me like that part of your health is already taken care of. Like you've already figured out what works. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah. I think this works fine. I think I feel great. I'm
Okay.
not really understanding why he feels like I need to make this change.
Okay. Um, well, I'm wondering, if that is something that you're feeling really good about, what is something we could talk about today that would be a helpful change for you, or might be something that could kind of take you to the next level? It sounds like you're at a really high level right now where you're feeling good with your nutrition. Is there something else that could help you maybe level up a little bit or just improve in some way?
Well, I guess if I'm going to be honest, he was looking at my labs, and he said that there were some things that probably could be a little better. I mean, I feel good, but my labs aren't all that good. So he
Mm.
says my bad cholesterol's a little high. My blood sugars are kind of bumping up there against the top end. My BMI is a little higher than it should be. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe I ought to just look at it a little bit first before I just out of hand decide it's not working for me.
Okay. So there's something about those lab results that has you curious about what might be going on and how you might improve those numbers a little bit.
Yeah, it does make me wonder, I mean, like I say, I feel good, feel fine, like eating meat, eat it, at least once a day. I have meat, sometimes 2 times a day. Sometimes, I like bacon in the morning. So, I guess that's it, because I feel okay. It's like, what's the big deal with numbers anyway?
Mm. So you take a lot more stock in how you feel as being a result, like being a reflection of your health. That if you're feeling good, um, you know that things are working in sync within your body and that you're a healthy person. So tell me more about that. Like what signals or signs can you pay attention to that maybe point you towards health that you notice?
Hmm. Well, I guess, I can pretty much do whatever I want to. If I want to spend the day hiking, I can do that. If I want to spend the day working in the yard, I can do that. So that's why I'm just kind of confused. Why are my labs so bad when it really seems like I'm doing okay?
Yeah, so there's kind of some conflict between what you're hearing from your doctor and what you're experiencing in your real life. Like you're able to do a lot, you're physically active, and you feel good, you feel strong and robust. So to you, the idea of a change doesn't really make sense right now.
Yeah, I'm just feeling a little, like, why is this the only way? Is this really the answer? Like, will it really make a difference in my labs if I adopt a plant-based diet?
So I'm, yeah, I know, something I'm hearing is that the function, your function is a lot more important to you than these labs. Um, what are some other, do you have any other signals, anything else that you can listen to that tells you that the way you're eating is right for you?
Hmm. Like what? Like, give me an example.
Well, an example might be, just clarity of thought, the way that you're processing information throughout the day, or this is a topic we don't often talk about, but just digestion in general. Um, so yeah, there's a few, there's a few things that are just indicative of, how food is working for you. I know some people that um, notice certain foods they're sensitive to might experience brain fog or fatigue or lack of sleep, that kind of thing. So just curious if there's anything day to day that you notice about, the foods you're eating, and if there's anything that stands out there.
Well, I would say my digestion could be better, honestly. I mean, my sleep's okay. Um, and yeah, sometimes I do experience brain fog, but probably the biggest of the things that you were talking about is my digestion.
Okay. And Digestion is one of those tricky things because there's certain foods that are more difficult to digest than others. And I wonder, would you be open to brainstorming this a little bit in, kind of working on digestion and kind of within that framework of the foods that work for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Um, so, you mentioned that you really enjoy eating meat, like you feel good on a meat diet. And you've also mentioned that your digestion isn't always what you would like it to be. So, um, I'm wondering, I'm going to just kind of brainstorm with you. Um, what do you feel might be missing from good digestion for you? What's maybe a missing piece of the puzzle there?
Well, I know, I was pretty upset at my doctor actually from the way he approached this whole thing. But if I'm gonna really sit and think about it, I know I don't eat enough vegetables. I know when there are times where I am concentrating on vegetables that my digestion is really good,
Mm.
So I don't know. I like meat. It's easy to get that, source of protein because I like it. Um, it's kind of the way I was raised, meat and potatoes.
Mhm.
But yeah, if I kind of pulled away from being so defensive with the doctor, I would say I could definitely eat more vegetables in my diet.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're experiencing is something we all experience from time to time. That's when somebody tells us to do something. It's hard to want to follow that direction when maybe it doesn't respect our boundaries or our what we know we need. And so it can be hard to put that aside. I hear where you're coming from with that. So, you know, kind of putting what the doctor said to the side here and just really focusing on what Kendi needs. Um, what kinds of foods do you feel your body's craving right now? Like, what is your body really asking for?
Oh, most of the time, what I want is something salty.
Okay. So I wonder about electrolytes. If your body's asking for maybe a better balance of electrolytes there. It's kind of what comes to mind. What do you think?
Yeah, I never thought about that before.
So tell me more. What do you know about salts and kind of how that works in the body?
Well, I know if you're doing a hard workout, you should be getting electrolytes. But other than that, I mean, I can remember back like when I did track in high school. I mean, that's been a long time ago, but they literally would supply you with salt tablets, right? These little yellow salt tablets. So I'm assuming maybe that probably had something to do with electrolytes.
Okay. So tell me a little more about like when your body's really craving that salt. Is it like a certain time of day? Is it after a certain activity, or is it just kind of random?
I haven't noticed it that it's like after activity. There are just times where I really want something salty. I'm not sure. I've never even thought about the timing, so I can't think about what it would be tied to.
Sure, sure. Um, okay. So salt is one. It sounds like there's maybe a need to dig into that a little more. If you were, I guess I'm wondering, what would it be like to be a little more curious about that craving when you get salt? How do you think how would
Mm.
that land with you?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to kind of track. Is there a pattern when I'm really wanting something salty? That's an interesting thought. I might do that, just see, kind of what's going on. What have I been doing when this craving for salt shows up?
Okay. So maybe correlating that salt to your activity um and you remember back from your track days that salt was something you needed after kind of around that activity you were doing. Um so it might be interesting what you find out there. Sounds like you're a little more curious about it.
Yeah, I am. I had never made that correlation between salt craving and electrolytes. So yeah, I'm curious about that now.
Okay. So you mentioned you want to pay attention to it around activity. Do you mind telling me about how you might tap into that or check in with that?
Well, I think if I'm just aware of it, now that you've brought it to my attention and made me really think about it a little bit, um, I think it'll be pretty easy. The next time I feeling like I really want something salty, I'll be walking through that in my mind. Like, okay, what's going on? What have I been doing? What have I been eating? How much have I been drinking? And see what all goes into
Mm.
when those times show up.
You're by doing that, you're really making the decision to be more present around activity and eating and drinking and some of those really important activities throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it would benefit me too to start paying attention to when I do eat more vegetables. How do I feel then? What does that
Mm.
change? What does it do to my digestion?
Yeah, Kenny, I can really hear you um, kind of voicing that desire to be a little more, just a little more in tune, and this is something that I think is really admirable because you know, um, your frustration on one hand is the doctor kind of prying into your life and telling you what to do. And in contrast to that, you decided that what's more helpful for you is to tap into what you need and um, to just be a little more present with yourself and notice things.
Yeah, I think so. I think that feels a little more respectful. That just didn't feel very respectful to me today.
Sure, sure. And so the the way you've responded to that is to be kind of treat yourself with respect, knowing how it feels to be disrespected, and then knowing kind of what the solution is to that, which is to respect yourself and to show yourself that love and compassion.
Yeah. Yeah. Just by tuning in, by thinking about when these things happen, or by thinking about if I make some changes, what happens.
Mm. So how do you? I know it's hard to know, but how do you think this will show up? How do you think this experiment will go?
Well, I think, on one level, the way it's going to go is I'm going to be a little more like not looking to prove my doctor wrong, like your way's not working. I think I'll be a little more gracious if I'm just looking at, okay, what happens when I pay attention to when I'm craving salt, what happens when I eat more vegetables, what changes, does it affect my digestion, does it help with brain fog? Yeah, so I think that'll be something that I could predict as an outcome.
Mm, okay. And there's something I can hear it in your voice when you're talking about that. Like you're excited about learning a little more about yourself. This is kind of a self-exploration that you're doing.
Yeah, it's like taking a test drive of this and seeing, okay, maybe he's right. Maybe that is the diet for me. But let me test drive it. Don't just say, you need to quit what you're doing and you need to start doing this.
Yeah, I like that idea of a test drive. And so this isn't something that you're bought and sold on. Um, you have the ability to walk around the lot and pick from different vehicles. And I think that's a great that's a great analogy for a diet. I think it is it's a vehicle, it's fuel in your tank. Um, so you're gonna take a few vehicles for a test drive here and try it out.
Yeah, kick a few tires.
Yeah, that sounds good. So just to summarize, you are going to kind of pay attention to salt and those times when you're craving the salt and what activities or just kind of what's going on in your life around those times when you're craving salt. You're going to just be a little more aware of vegetables in your diet and how they play a role. And overall, you're going to kick the tires a little bit and just be a little more curious and in tune with your body as you're doing this. Does that sound about right for you?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds like we have a plan. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we wrap up today?
No, I think that's it. I think I got a way forward.
Okay. Great, Kenny. Well, I guess we'll talk to you next week. And yeah, always good connecting with you.
All right. Thanks, Paul.
You got it. All right. Well, how did that feel, Kenny?
Yeah, that felt good. I have to say, it was kind of fun playing the mad client, I've seen those before, when they've been told to do something. So, but I love that you really looked for something specific and kind of helped me dial in, like the craving. That was a very interesting piece when you went that direction, because it really opened up the space for me to decide, hey, I can be a little curious about this. And that led to, hey, maybe I can be a little curious about the plant-based diet too.
Yeah, and you really took an active role in it. And that's something I'm always, I guess, focused on with clients is, how do we move them into that curious active role where they have some say in their own health, right? They're kicking the tires and doing experiments and stuff, which I think is so good for people to get out of the paradigm of, well, this doctor needs to fix me and the problems that I have versus, how can I be more curious in my life around my health?
Yeah, it's that autonomy piece, right? Because whenever anyone tells any of us what to do, I mean, it's our natural instinct to be defensive about that. So, and you really just handed that autonomy back to me. So yeah, pretty big key.
Yeah, you have to. And I think each of us has that 16-year-old rebel within us that, when the authority figure tells us what to do. And that's usually what leads to the pre-contemplation. And, in talking to you as the client, you knew deep down that you needed to make some little changes or be a little more in tune with your body. And we all, who doesn't need a little more of a check-in? And so by doing that, we, kind of broke down those barriers that were there, caused by the interaction with the authority figure. It just allowed you to take over and experiment a little bit.
Yeah, it was super interesting too when you brought up the idea of brainstorming, because as a client right then, I wasn't sure that I could come up with any ideas. But there were a couple of ideas that got put on the table, and those tended to be pretty big. The digestion was a great direction to go. So yeah, I like that piece.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure for our watching audience how deep to go into, visits to the bathroom and all that kind of stuff. But, we get into that with our clients. Sometimes we talk about that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think it's overlooked, that we don't really think of how, maybe how our stress is affecting digestion or how, and this interaction with your doctor was stressful. That can't help digestion. That can't help, anything related to your diet. So, yeah, just trying to connect the dots and come to a good conclusion with it.
Yeah, it was good. You did some really successful, nice guiding to get me out of that where I was so angry at my doctor,
Yeah, and the client in this case was open to exploration, which I think, some clients are going to be a little more closed off, and it's going to take a few sessions before they learn to trust us. And I know you've experienced that too, where, the first couple sessions are really just the client feeling you out, saying, can I trust you? Because, like this example today, you felt like you've been burned, you had something pushed on you that you weren't ready for. So, So, half of coaching is just breaking those barriers down and moving towards trust and just mutual respect with it when it comes to making our own decisions.
That's exactly right, because lots of times this relationship is also looked at as one more person's going to tell me what to do. And that's really not our role, to tell them what to do. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And empathy goes a long way there, just empathizing with, man, it's got to be hard to be told what to do. I mean, nobody wants that.
Mhm.
So how do we give you that power back? And when you have the power, you can be free to be creative and curious and intuitive. And that's, I think that's true health liberty, when you can, be curious with it and move with it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, anything else that stood out on this call that you wanted to talk about?
I guess the other thing that came to my mind was another direction. This was great direction. I'm just thinking another direction that was a possibility with this call was the stress connection, right? This call started out with stress, and that could have been another. I mean, you mentioned a little bit ago what stress does to your digestion. So yeah, that's one more way. And the client might come back with, no, it's really not brain fog. It's not digestion. It's da 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 da. There's always another direction you can go.
Yeah, that's a good point. Keep it an open mind about what is the real problem here.
Mhm.
And Marion Franklin in the book Laser Focused Coaching, I always go back to this when I'm getting stuck with this kind of thing. She talks about asking yourself constantly, why is this a problem for the client? Why is what they're telling me a problem for them? And I think that spirit of curiosity can really push the call forward. And when you get stuck and there's nothing that works, the client's sharing how they're unique in that, they've tried everything and nothing works for them. I think if we can really get to the heart of, why is this a problem for them? That's going to open up the curious interaction, right? That gets to the bottom of it, gets them thinking in a deeper way about the problem.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's what I was thinking. This is just one. There are many directions to go here. And you chose one. What are you noticing in your body? That was a great direction to go. But if that wasn't right for me, I'm sure you had gone somewhere else. So yeah, what's the problem for the client here? Good reminder.
Yeah. And also reminding yourself that the client isn't the problem. I think people that are chronically ill, especially, can feel like they're broken or their systems aren't working anymore. And realizing the problem is external, and why is overcoming this important to them? And we could have definitely got talking about opportunities. We could have gone much deeper into, why is diet important to you? What have you fixed with diet? What have you overcome through changes to your diet before? So there's a lot of power in exploring that end of it too.
Definitely. Or what do you know about lab work? How important is the bad cholesterol or BMI or any of those terms I was throwing around, right? That could have been another direction that we went.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And and the client may take value in those results, and they may say, that's not relevant. What's more relevant is how I feel and how I'm functioning. And that seemed to be more important for you than what the doctor thought of your lab results. So, your body tells you what's going on. And I think you really tapped into that. So,
yeah. One final thing that's kind of stands out to me from this call is I came into this call pretty heated, and none of that like ruffled your feathers. You just hung in there with me. You let me talk, helped me work through that, but nothing, there wasn't like this escalation of what was going on with me. I mean, you definitely made me feel validated in my anger, right? But we got to the other side of that anger, and you were just this calm water that was right there beside me while I was walking through that.
Well, I felt like the duck paddling pretty hard underwater there, but that's and that's a challenge for a lot of coaches. I know when you have a client that's really upset, sometimes that that can put the coach on edge. I think it's easy to absorb energy as an empath. A lot of us absorb that energy when we hear it. So just, I think, disconnecting from the anger or the frustration that the client's expressing, realizing that's not a reflection on us. It's just, it's what they're feeling. And we felt that before too, at one point or another. So
Yep. That may be a future YouTube video, honestly, talking about some ways to disconnect, because I mean, you and I have talked before, and I've talked to other coaches before. It's like 98% of us are empaths. So how do you navigate that? Be fun to explore that in an episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good idea for the next one. All right. Well, I guess we better sign off here on our TCCU page. And thanks for watching, guys. Hope this was helpful to you.
Yeah, be sure and like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time we're here.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye-bye.